40 years ago today, the Birmingham pub bombing has claimed the lives of 21 people and injured more than 180. For many, the pain of that night is as raw now as it was then. Nobody's ever been successfully convicted for the attacks.
A special service is being held tonight at the city's cathedral commemorating the anniversary. That's where our reporter Callum Watkinson is, and we can speak to him now. Callum, it may be 40 years on, but it's still an emotional time for the people of Birmingham, isn't it?
Emotional, yes, as this anniversary always is, though today perhaps more so than usual. 4 decades exactly since those 21 lives were taken. The survivors too have spent many years living with the memories of what they saw, what they heard and what they smelt that night. Chris Halpin has been speaking to one man who walked away from the carnage at the tavern in the town. Here is his remarkable story of survival.
On New Street this evening, it's like any other normal night, exactly as it would have been this time 40 years ago. But in a basement bar behind me, in a few hours' time, everyone's lives inside were to change forever. The blast in the tavern in the town killed 11 people and injured everyone inside. One of the survivors was Les Robinson.
Typical night out, we met at the tavern because I had probably 15 to 18 friends going down there. And also I had a girlfriend there. And it was a bit tacky, if you want the truth. It was never one of these shiny, plasticky upmarket pubs.
As usual, it was Les's job to get the first round in. The 3 pints cost him 75 pence. Across the room was his on-off girlfriend, Roz. They were on a break. He remembers feeling the room shake at around 17 minutes past 8. That was the first bomb. 8:27 was fast approaching.
It was all 1970s music. Commodores, 3 Degrees, things like that. The beer was good. I felt like I was leaving home to go to another home, but I also knew that all my friends would be there, and it was just filled with laughter. There was a game, bat and ball machine. I think the proper name for it is a pong machine, and I was losing badly. I had a terrible temper. I punched the machine and walked away. I walked into the centre of the pub. My friend Steve Cox said, "Come back." And as I put my hands on the controls,
Les was 10 feet away from the bomb.
I can remember being picked up and thrown through the air, and then I landed, and when I opened my eyes, you could see nothing, and I thought I was blind. You could smell dust, you could smell bacon. And I didn't know at the time, it was people who'd been badly burned. But I landed on the bottom of the stairs, which was about 10 feet away. I was in the zone, I think, that took the most casualties. There was a St John's ambulance man at the top of the stairs, and I could just see his lips moving. And I can remember saying to him, "You better get down there, it's terrible."
Emerging from the destruction downstairs, above ground, Les found the street shattered. The same had happened at 17 minutes past 8 at the mulberry bush underneath the rotunda. Despite being badly burned and blistered, Les staggered the 1.5 miles home. The next thing he knew, he was in hospital.
I'd lost all my hair. I'd got glass in my eye, my left eye. I'd got glass under my armpit. I'd had glass go through my knee. My trousers had blown apart. I had all my face was burned. My sweater had melted to my shoulder. I'd got bags of fluid hanging from my fingertips. Tremendous pain, the worst pain I've ever known in my life.
Attitudes towards Birmingham's Irish community during the Troubles was tense before that night. Now hostility became hatred. And even after Les's wounds had healed, his family was fractured in a city divided.
The saddest part for me, out of everything, I had a much loved uncle, my Uncle Tom, who was from Dublin. And after the tavern was blown up, he was too ashamed to come and visit me. And my other uncle had to go and drag him down. And I can remember him crying. He was very, very upset. And he kept saying, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And I told him that he's got nothing to be sorry about. He didn't do that. Over the years, people have said to me, "You must hate the Irish." And my brother's married to an Irish girl, and they've got half Irish children. So if you won't work out for me which part of them I should hate.
Les didn't speak about the terrorist attacks for 35 years, not because they made him hate, because they gave him love. Surviving the bombs brought Les and Ros back together. They married in 1977. Chief bridesmaid Linda and best man Steve also survived when terror struck the tavern in the town. And although he's thankful for their long lives lived, Les laments those whose lives were lost.
Bearing in mind that people suffered terrible things, it's brought me so much happiness, that terrible night. It brought us back together. And it brought us back together in an absolutely beautiful way, because 3 years later I married her, and we've had 2 children, we've got grandchildren, and she's given me a life that I never believed possible. How do you justify that? How do you justify that to people who still ache and long for those that they lost?
That's Les Robinson reliving his memories of the Birmingham pub bombings 40 years ago and how it really did change his life.
Well, let's go back to Callum Watkinson now. Callum, a respectful service planned at the cathedral, and the commemorations actually began yesterday, didn't they?
That's right, a memorial concert was held at the town hall last night, a much more raucous affair than we can probably expect here at Birmingham Cathedral today, and intentionally so. The organisers said that they wanted that to be a celebration of the victims' lives, one day ahead of today, the anniversary of their deaths.
The sky looks the same over Birmingham.
Remembering the victims of the bombings has become part of the rhythm of civic life in this city. This concert last night honoured the dead and the injured, and the emergency services who pulled many of them, shocked and bleeding, from the rubble.
For these 2 men, in recognition not only of their bravery, but to thank all the others. Please show your appreciation for John Frayne.
Fireman John Frayne was on his way to the scene of the first bomb, diverted his driver when he heard the second, and walked into the wreckage of New Street fearful of a third.
We were shaking, we were all twitching when we went down there. As far as we were concerned, we had to treat it as though there was another active bomb in the basement. But the people had to be got out.
And hundreds were, but John was left trapped with his memories.
I had nightmares. My wife said it made me a lot less trusting after that.
And why would it make you less trusting of people?
I couldn't believe that people could do this to other people, and then looking at folk, you wonder what's going on in their minds. Who are they? Somebody warned us that there was another bomb as we went towards the entrance, and I shall never know whether that was a well-wisher or an IRA member wishing to delay the rescue.
I've never seen so many old rockers back there. There must be £2,500 of fuel allowance.
With merriment and music, this concert set out to commemorate the lives of the dead, not the violence with which those lives ended.
But there's 21 today.
For the man who wrote this anniversary song, tonight was about remembrance without sadness.
Because it's so long ago now, I think that many people have forgotten about it. So this is a memorial, this is a chance to just revisit once again, to remember again the tragedy that happened in our town, and really to celebrate the fact that we've all recovered from it, and the citizens, we're not full of sadness about it anymore.
As this atrocity turns 40, almost half of Birmingham's population is under 30, higher than the national average. The challenge for the families of the victims will be to keep memories of them alive in the decades to come. Well, I'm joined now by Catherine Ogle. She's the Dean here at Birmingham Cathedral. Catherine, is it becoming more difficult as the years go past to engage people in remembrance of this tragedy?
Actually, we've been finding that the numbers of people who are gathering has actually been increasing. And a few years ago, informally, people were gathering outside the cathedral. And that's when we started to say, would you like to come in? Can we offer you a service? And it seemed a good thing to offer people the security and safety of the cathedral and the dignity of some beautiful music and words to hold their grief.
And that goes for young people as well?
We find that people of all ages are coming to this, but maybe particularly those who have a personal memory of the evening.
And do you think the grief of the families is compounded by the fact nobody has been held to account for this atrocity?
Anyone who speaks to the families will be aware that the grief is often still very raw, and I think that they are longing to have answers.
OK, Catherine, thank you very much for joining us. So less than an hour now before this service gets underway, about 2 hours before a minute's silence will be held. That will mark the moment at 8:17 that the first bomb went off, a moment that ended 21 lives and destroyed many, many more, and inflicted a wound on the consciousness of this city, which is still 40 years on, slowly healing.
Callum, thank you very much. That's Callum Watkinson at Birmingham Cathedral, carrying on despite the rain.